3, 2, 1, dropping into the crystal.
Ian McIntosh, big mountain skier, professional guide. Welcome to the Crystal Lodge.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So the fans who don't know, you have had a really big career, big life. You made the first descent off Mount Nelson. You won Line of the Year in Powder Magazine, and you've debuted in a lot of films, and now you're going to be producing. What brought you to Whistler?
You know, when I grew up in the interior in Invermere, BC, it's funny when you grow up in the Kootenays, you always kind of have this idea of Whistler being just this big, place that, you don't really, the mountain obviously speaks for itself, but it sounded like it was like a busy place, and I grew up in a really small town. So growing up, I didn't really have a desire to come here. And then as I started to pursue the life of being a professional skier, I realized that this is the place to be. And then, so I decided to come give it a try for one winter, and I came out here in 2001. And once I got here and experienced the place, I realized that the hype is for real and this place is incredible, and now I never want to leave.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've been here since 2001. You've seen Whistler almost transition. What has been the biggest difference between Whistler when you first arrived versus now?
I mean, it's just constantly growing. Obviously, Vail being new owners has changed things, and that's debatable for a lot of people, for the better, for the worse, whatever. There are pluses and minuses to everything in this world. And I think that was probably one of the biggest transitions that I've seen in the area. The Olympics were huge also. I think those two together, the Olympics and then Vail's Inquisition of the mountain, have been two huge changing things around here.
Awesome. So I'm going to play into your Whistler knowledge and warm us up with some rapid fire questions.
Okay, sounds, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Whistler or Blackcomb?
Blackcomb.
All-time favorite run?
Diamond Bowl.
Best trees?
Whistler.
Best steeps?
Blackcomb. Best
beer in town?
Coast Mountain Daydreamer, or I guess it's called I Hope You're Happy Now.
Love that.
Yeah.
And what's your go-to pair of skis?
I have the Vocal Revolt 114s.
Okay, and why are they your favorite?
Because I helped design them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So nice. They're actually the ski that's closest resembles my ideal ski.
Okay.
So
can you briefly touch on what is the process of designing a ski?
So for us at Vocal, we have this built together program that we do, and that brings a wide variety of the team together, all different styles of riders, and we have a focus of we're trying to build a ski for this specific purpose. And it doesn't matter if that's not the specific style of mine. I understand what the goal of the design of the ski is. And so we work together to create that. With the ski that I love now that I'm on, the Revolt 114, that was a ski that was geared towards my style of skiing, and that's why it was the most fun for me. But basically the team meets in multiple locations around the world throughout the year with prototypes. We test all the prototypes. We give the engineers a direction to go with the prototypes. And then on the next trip that we all meet together, we have a new set of prototypes that are more geared around the info that we had given. And then we just continue to develop the ski throughout the year. And at the end of the year, we basically have our final prototype. We give it the go-ahead, or it needs this final little tweak. And then that's what the ski that ends up in production.
That's awesome.
It's super fun.
Yeah. That sounds great. And there's so many different types of skiers out there. There's racing, all mountain, touring, so many. So what is your advice for someone who's coming to Whistler for the first time, doesn't really know what they're doing, wants to improve their skills really fast, or maybe on the flip end, it's an experienced skier and they want to continuously be improving their skills?
Well, first thing I recommend when you go to any strange place or new place is to try and find someone who knows the area to show you around. And then, around here, a great, avenue is something like Extremely Canadian, where there are amazing skiers and they can show you the mountain and, push your skill set and your level of skiing. But, if that's not something you can afford, then maybe it's just like making friends at the bar or at Après with skiers that are more local or have been here for a long time that can show you around and push you. And, I always felt in life like you got to be around people that are better than you. And that will make you better. Whether or not you're taking lessons or coaching or anything, just simply skiing with people or being out there with people that are better than you and know the area better than you, you're always going to learn a lot more and increase your skill set way faster.
Awesome. And I know that sometimes people have a hard time finding the balance between pushing themselves and enjoying that experience. Do you have any advice for that?
I'd say the key with being out there is making sure you're always having fun. If you're not having fun, then, take a little self-assessment as to why. Maybe you're pushing yourself too hard, you're scaring yourself, there's some sort of peer pressure involved, or you're letting your ego get involved when you really just want to be out there having fun. Maybe you're freezing cold and you want to go in and the people you're skiing with don't want to go in. Just go in, warm up. Because it's about having fun. If your feet are killing you in your ski boots, go to a boot fitter and get them to be more comfortable, because being uncomfortable on the mountain is, you're not going to be having fun. And really at the end of the day, that's all it's about. That's why we ski, right? And so that should be the primary focus. And if anything's affecting that, do that little self-check and figure out why.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how does riding in bounds help your performance in the backcountry?
I think just like spinning laps on chairlifts and skiing piste runs and working on your technique can help your skiing immensely all over the mountain. And so, the skiing on piste and skiing on the groomed runs or on the front side of the mountain, if you will, you're just gonna log hours, and it goes back to that whole 10,000 hours, and then you can be a professional at anything. So the closer you can get to those 10,000 hours of moving downhill on your skis or snowboard or whatever it is, the better off you're going to be, and that's always going to translate to skills into the backcountry, at least on the descending side of the skills in the backcountry.
How about going up? Do you have any recommendations for that?
Well, obviously being fit and working on your fitness. Part of that will come from skiing lots of laps on the front side of the mountain. But, there needs to be something else, either in the off season or that you're doing throughout your weekly routine, that's helping your cardiovascular fitness and your overall strength, so that going up the mountain, if you want to become a backcountry skier, isn't a painful experience and it's an enjoyable experience. And then also, going out with people that might be at your pace, and so that you're not getting pushed to exhaustion constantly. Because then that's also where we start to make mistakes, is when we're super exhausted. The key to all this, obviously, is making sure that you have some sort of level of backcountry training and knowledge, and you have all the equipment, and you've trained with it all, and you know how to use it all, and all the people you travel in the backcountry have done the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you just give us a little picture of how much experience you have and what your journey in the backcountry has been and getting out there?
Yeah, so where I grew up is the Purcell Mountains is the closest mountain range. Panorama Mountain was my home resort, and my dad was an avid backcountry ski tour, so was my mom. But I would go out I think my first time at a backcountry cabin was 8 years old, learning how to ski tour. And, from that very first time, I was pretty addicted to fresh tracks and amazing powder snow. So I have been pursuing that life ever since. I'm 18 years professional skier. My whole career has been built on skiing big mountain lines and being in the backcountry. I've got my guide's license now. And so being in the backcountry for me is a daily ritual in the winter. I don't go up on Whistler or Blackcomb without my backcountry gear, because at some point throughout the day, I'm going to go through the gates and into the backcountry almost every given day out there. So it's a big part of my life. It's kind of my identity as a skier.
Awesome. And you just gave so much great advice. What has been the best piece of advice you've received as an athlete?
I'd say the best piece of advice I've received as an athlete is to stay humble, not only with your skill set as an athlete with other humans, but with Mother Nature primarily, because she is the big boss. And if you don't listen to Mother Nature, and if you let your ego and like your experience make you feel like you're indestructible or that you know everything, that's when you're going to get into big trouble. And so, yeah, staying humble with Mother Nature is key.
Speaking about like experience and having scary moments in the backcountry, can you think of a time that you have been like, ooh, maybe I should have done that a little bit differently, and how you would have done it differently?
Yeah, I mean, like one big thing that happened to me in my life was in 2011. I was skiing for Teton Gravity Research's film, and I broke my femur in Alaska. And at the same time, that same week, I went through a divorce. And it was kind of a huge, groundbreaking, transitional moment in my life. You know, I was letting ego kind of drive the ship for me at that point in my life. I think my wife at that time was even a representation of my ego. She wasn't a good partner for me. And ego is a dangerous thing. And I didn't respect the mountain. I didn't respect the dangers of what I was doing. I was starting to feel like I could do anything and that I was invincible. And, you know, it was that same week that I was going through a divorce. I wasn't sleeping all night. And then I'm going out into the mountains every day and trying to push the level of the sport and my own level. And eventually I started making poor decisions. And it was just one poor decision. And I broke my femur. Fortunately, I'm okay. And I was able to recover from that and transition and become the person I am today. And now I look back at that as the best thing that ever happened to me. But it could have easily been the end of my life. And so we're always one small decision in the backcountry and in the mountains that could be, you know, the end or a huge moment of injury or anything like this. So yeah, it was a massive learning experience, and like I say, I look back at it now as something I needed to go through to grow into the person that I am today. But yeah, I don't wish it on anybody.
Yeah. I feel like as humans, we all have to go through a hard time and maybe hit that rock bottom in order to see the other side. Did that feel like your rock bottom? Or?
It did. You know, returning back to my home here, you know, my wife was gone, so the house is empty. I've got a broken leg. I could barely even stand up because I lost so much blood. I would just get dizzy and want to pass out. And, you know, that felt to me, you know, first world problems, kind of privileged person that I am and recognize that I am, but that did feel like rock bottom to me at the time. And my career was in the balance, something that I'd worked so hard to achieve, and all of a sudden I had sacrificed everything for this one stupid move, you know. And so yeah, it did feel like rock bottom, but at that point I think that's when you appreciate everything that you had and you stop taking things for granted. And that's where I started doing a lot of self-realization. You know, I started reading a lot of like books that are kind of like self-help books and books that work on self-growth, and going to the gym every day, 4 hours a day, trying to recover from my injury, because I realized how good I had it and how I was taking it for granted, and then and wanted to get back to that place. So,
did you feel like you had a support system then? And was it the goal of in your career of like skiing that brought you back out of that dark place? Or was it just, I need to change my life?
It was a combination of everything. I had a great support system with my family and my sponsors and my main media partner, TGR. They all supported me and they all had my back, and they all told me, don't worry, just recover. We'll be here for you. So that was a huge stress relief for me, and I was very privileged to have the ability to just wake up every day and go, all right, my job today is to go to the gym, get strong, and to work on my mind and realize why I fell into this trap and why I went down the path that I've been on in my life and how I can become a better human being. And so I was very, very fortunate to have that support network to be able to do that. But that was my daily goal: get strong and improve my mind. Yeah.
And you have to have a strong mind. You're traveling through the mountains. You never know what's going to come at you or what decisions you have to make. How has skiing influenced your life, and do you like find meditation in being in the mountains? What's that experience like for you?
For sure. I mean, yes, you have to be a strong mind, and you have to go through a lot of experience to get to where I am in life, to be confident in the backcountry and so on and so forth, but not too confident, still understanding that there's that fine line that you're constantly towing. And for me, it's always been about just pursuing my passion, and I don't really have like the best answer for that question, I guess, but for my life, it's very meditative to be out there. It's very, it's an experience when you're in the mountain that it brings you into the moment. When I think in life, we're so constantly, our brains are scattered. There's so much going on. We're all so busy, and I've got a lot going on in my life. But when I'm in the mountains, I'm just there. I'm in that moment. And it doesn't matter whether I'm like skiing hard down a line, and that's for sure going to put you right in the moment. You're not thinking about anything. But even just like traveling through the backcountry, because you're thinking about your surroundings, you're trying to be in tune with Mother Nature and the snowpack and your partners and everything around you. And so the rest of the world fades away. So it is a very meditative sort of experience. But I would say that ultimately the most meditative experience of it all is when you click in and point it down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there one moment that you remember skiing or in the backcountry that is just so beautiful and so profound for you, or is it just a scatter of many memories?
There's so many memories. Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about being in the mountains for me, and I think for so many people, that why we fall in love with it and why we're so passionate about it is because it constantly creates those experiences. And yeah, to pinpoint one, I mean, it'd be tough. To even pinpoint like a highlight reel would be tough, because I've been doing this for a long time. I'm 42 years old now, and like I said, I've been in the backcountry since I was 8 years old, and I've experienced so much amazing memories and joy from those experiences.
And you have 2 little girls.
I do, yeah.
Who I met today. They're so cute.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Do you are you bringing them out with you? What do you plan with them?
I definitely plan to introduce them. I mean, my oldest started ski school last year when she was 3, and she's ripping already, and it's so fun to be able to take her skiing now. And my youngest, who's 2.5, she's going to be getting on skis here in the next couple weeks, and is really excited about it, because they both see, the videos of daddy skiing, and they're starting to understand what I do for a living, and and my youngest also sees that her big sister's a skier now, and so she definitely wants to be. So I'm stoked that they're both keen on it, but more than anything, I just want to create 2 humans that are active and healthy and want to be outside in Mother Nature and develop a love for Mother Nature as I have, and want to protect Mother Nature as I do, and a passion for the outdoors, yeah, and being athletic and active. Like, what other, things could you want with your children, in my mind? And so whether or not they become like the world's best skiers, that's up to them. I'm not going to push them to do anything. I'm going to introduce them to skiing in the hopes that they love it, which I feel they do, and that it just creates those people. And they'll always be able to be good skiers. Yeah. And whether or not they do anything with it is totally up to them. But the fact that they'll be able to ski for their whole lives is going to always bring them joy and create all those foundations of human life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not snowboarding though.
No, because I don't want to have to constantly tow my 2 daughters across the flats and over traverses and so on and so on. No, just joking. I love snowboarding too. I actually do snowboard. I pow surf quite a bit. And snowboarding's amazing. And I think, in powder snow, snowboarding is more fun. I will agree to that 100%. But as a mountain tool, skiing is way better for moving around and getting around in the mountains. And so I feel like skiing gives you that more broad ability to move and be fluid in the mountains and experience the mountains. And then, that's what pow surfing's for, is when there's no tracks at all and you can go ride a little pow surfer or something. I'm not going to be against it if they want to snowboard, though. If they want to snowboard, great. But they're going to have to learn how to be quick and keep up to the skiers. And I know tons of snowboarders that are amazing at getting across the flats and traverses and so on and so forth. They've learned that. And some of the best snowboarders that I ever ride with are the ones that ride with skiers a lot, because they're quick. They learn how to be super quick and efficient. I'm not going to push my girls to do anything. They can decide what they want to do. I'm just going to introduce them to stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a great way to reach your kids.
I think so. Thanks. Yeah.
And you've traveled a lot with your career and stuff. Yeah. Do you have any, besides Whistler, where else in the world do you love to ski or you would love to visit again? I mean,
there's the obvious places like the Alps and Alaska. There's some great ski resorts and ski destinations in the US. I love Chile. I love New Zealand. Japan is somewhere I haven't experienced yet, but I'm planning on next season heading there. I'm taking some clients skiing there next year. So I can't wait for that. And then there's kind of the off the beaten path kind of places that you wouldn't think of, like India, that I really enjoy just because the culture is so rich. Or even like Greece. I went skiing in Greece, which I guess you could consider as, it's Europe, it's Eastern Europe, but it's, you wouldn't think that there's skiing there, but there is. And there's so many places in the world that, people don't recognize as ski places, but then you go there and there's people skiing there, and so I love the variety that our sport has, and, the variety of styles that exist in our sport, from racers to free riders to freestylers to half-pipe skiers to mogulers, and then also the cultures, the different cultures that all embrace the sport across the world. It's really cool to me. And so, it all has its place in time. And, people often ask me, where's the best place to ski in the world? I'm like, wherever you are, and then from there, if you want to break it down even more, wherever the best snow is, wherever you are, so it's like wherever you are, yes, but is the snow better over that ridge or over that ridge? And it's that's the best place to ski, so yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think we've established that you have a really big career and you have a whole life in front of you as well. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, in 5 years, I'm really growing and expanding my guiding world that I've gone down in the last bunch of years. So I heli ski guide and I cat ski guide, and I also host ski retreats around the world. I love hosting clients. I love giving clients that best day ever experience. And so whether I'm hosting clients in Europe or Chile or Japan, or taking people heli skiing here in BC or up in Alaska, I see a part of my career that's really evolving. I'm also starting to dabble in producing, and I'm really stoked on that. I recognize this about myself. I was a born leader. I like to be a leader, and producing is very much that role. On set, a little bit of stunt coordinating. Maybe I'm starting to dabble into. I've got some other businesses that I'm also starting to try and start up that I'll keep quiet for now because they're in their very, very early stages. But in 5 years, I really see myself just really trying to expand that guiding side of the world and producing side of the world that I'm getting into. And I'm still very passionate to film and be on that side of the camera. I am for now, and I still seem to be able to hold my own even with the youngsters, as long as it's in the big terrain, because that's an experience game. And so that's where I'm still holding a little bit of a leg up, or at least still holding my own. And so as long as I can still feel like I'm at a level that's worthy, then I'm going to continue to keep filming because I love it. But at the same time, expanding these new business ideas and new realms of, continuing to use this brand that I've built of Ian McIntosh to continue to ski and kind of, pass forward my passion for the mountains.
That's so awesome. We're so lucky to have you here at the Crystal Lodge with us. And I know you've done many interviews, but to finish it off, I would like to ask you if there's one question you've always wanted to be asked but never were.
So there was this one period in time where I went viral for tomahawking down a mountain.
Yes, I watched that in my college dorm room.
Right.
Yeah.
And I went to so many interviews with major media outlets all over the world, from CNN to CTV to all over the world, like 30 probably interviews in 2 days when that went viral. I was on Good Morning America, it was crazy. And the one question that I always had for those media outlets is, how come none of you cared about what I did until I almost died? And I think that's like a question for society, and a question, I don't know if it's a question that could be asked of myself, but if I could be asked one thing, it's like, what would you change about how this world perceives what I do, or media in general? And my answer would be, I wish that people and humanity would, in general, care more about what people are doing and are passionate about before they're just almost dying. Because that seems to be like where the masses attention comes in. It's like, oh, you almost died, now I want to watch what you do, and now I want to ask you questions and all these sorts of things, versus like, holy cow, like you do this successfully 99.9% of the time. What's that like? And kind of diving into that world. We live in this kind of small niche little ski industry. And so within our little industry, I think we get caught up with the fact that people care about what we do, but the real deal is the masses only really care unless you're almost dying, And so I'd love to see, and I don't know if this is like a great answer to your question, but I'd love to see, humanity change a little bit in that sense. Another potential question that I wish people would ask is, how do I truly feel about the way that a lot of social media is being used these days? And I don't think social media is bad. I think it's actually got a lot of really good aspects to it. This information sharing that's happening, and being able to connect with people that you haven't seen in forever. There's so many good things about social media, but then there's this dark side of it that we don't tend to talk about, and that's the side that like creates a lot of anxiety and depression and so on and so forth. And I wish there was more education around this sort of stuff, and I wish we were able to bring these sorts of new technologies and platforms that we're using into like a school system, and teach kids about the ups and the downs and how to use it, when to use it, and the pluses and minuses of it all, so that young minds that are being introduced to these sorts of platforms are being truly educated on what they're engaging with and how it can be used to create so much negativity, or how it can be used to create so much positivity. And so, yeah, I guess I wish people would ask me how we could change social media for the better, or at least the education around it. Yeah.
A lot of what you just said with your incident and then social media kind of comes down to humans being worthy enough.
Yeah.
And if we always have to prove ourselves, and I think that translates a lot into like backcountry culture, where people have to go chase the biggest line or go keep banging or whatever.
And it's this whole like feeding of the ego, and then you look at social media and you're like, wow, everyone's living such a better life than me. And even myself, I fall victim to this. I look at it and I'm like, wow, everyone's crushing it, and I'm not. I'm just like wiping, like changing diapers and stuff, like, wow, this is like, and it can like really send you into a negative mind space. But really, at the end of the day, is what we all need to learn is people are only putting their best self forward on these platforms. And also, none of it's that real. Like, a lot of it can be not authentic. I try and to only post authentic stuff, but I also understand that my followers want to see high ski action content. And so finding that balance, right? But ultimately understanding that it's these platforms that push us to do things that we might not necessarily do otherwise. And like, that's where you have to go within and like ask yourself. And I think that was a big learning lesson from my accident and injury when I broke my leg, is that I was doing stuff to impress people. And this is kind of even like early days of social media, but I was doing stuff to impress people. And nowadays, when I'm standing on top of a line, I'm not sitting there going, wow, people are gonna love it. Like, I'm gonna get so much praise if I stick this line. It's more like, do I want to do this? Is this what I want to do? Yeah. And if it is, then I do it. And if it isn't, I call the helicopter back in, or I ski back down the way I climbed up, or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I think we need to, as a society, start to instill these sorts of mindsets and skill sets of how to deal with these platforms into younger minds, because we're just throwing them to the wolves right now. It's like, here's an iPhone or a smartphone, and here's all these social media platforms, and here you are in high school in this like crazy complex social network. Go, figure it out, you know, and that can be incredibly damaging to a young mind, and even to a mind like myself, you know, in my 40s. I recognize when I'm falling into those traps of letting it make me feel like I'm not living as good a life as other people.
Yeah.
You know.
But you're Ian McIntosh and you're professional skiers.
Exactly.
The comparison game is so toxic sometimes.
It's so toxic.
Yeah.
It's so toxic, and that's why I think it's important for people who are influencers on social media to try and keep it real, and also to talk about these sorts of things, because we all need to understand that it's not reality. Yeah. It's we're all putting our best self forward. Yeah. And don't worry, because what you see on social media doesn't mean that that person's necessarily happier than you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's they're portraying something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's reality. Yeah. And so, and I think young minds need to stop using these platforms to attack each other. Mm-hmm. And that all comes into the ego game and the self-esteem game and all these sorts of things. But yeah, I want more education around this sort of stuff.
That's awesome. And you are taking that stride forward with your girls, trying to connect them to nature and going down that path. So that's awesome. Yeah. And we have a lot of families who come to Whistler trying to connect their children to being outside, having fun on the slopes. So that's great.
Yeah, and what better place to stay than at the Crystal Lodge, because you're in the heart of everything, steps away from the ski resort, and in the mix with everything else that Whistler has to offer, all these amazing outdoor activities that this place boasts. So yeah, I mean, it's a great place to bring families and explore and get your kids outside and get them connected to nature, and do it in an amazing playground such as this.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for coming and joining us today. I know that my team at the Crystal Lodge is so thankful. I'm thankful, and we wish you the best ski season. I hope to see your girls out there on Blackcomb.
Thank you so much. This pleasure is mine, and likewise to you and everybody else.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.
3, 2, 1, dropping into the crystal.